This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for Heart Mojo with Melinda Smith. And for those of you who are tuning in today, typically Melinda's show is about 45 minutes. Sometimes we even stretch it to an hour. But our subject today is the challenge of how things change in your day that just make things topsy-turvy. And Melinda and I are at that point today.
Definitely.
You had certain plans for today.
Yes, I did.
Leaving work early, and I see you're still at work.
Yes, because, my plans changed. So I stayed at work to continue to, work through my whatever I still didn't get done for the day.
And, it's interesting because, you and I are on Facebook, and we do a lot of posting out there, but mostly about your podcast or the podcast that I work on. But I noticed so many other people are posting about how perfect their day is, how perfect their family is. And, even with all the challenges I went through today, I can't say my day is bad, but it certainly has been challenging to juggle what I thought I was going to get done, what I'm actually completing. So what's it like for you? You work out of the house, you have to get up every morning, you drive about 30 minutes to work?
35-ish, depending on the day, traffic, weather,
traffic. And, a lot of people look at our drive time and they go, oh, it shouldn't take you 30 minutes because it's only 11 miles or whatever. But the reality of it is there's traffic. There are stop signs.
And I travel, for those people who know Cleveland, 480, and that you never know what you're getting on 480. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So what's it like for you when you get up in the morning, you have your day planned? Okay. We just came off of a holiday weekend. I know you work part of the weekends.
I did.
But this morning was supposed to be a typical work day. And you drive to work, but you have some other things you had to do.
Right. Well, I was already late this morning. I'm usually not late to work. And stuff happened at home this morning that caused me to leave. If I leave 5 or 10 minutes late, I'm going to be late. I have to leave by a certain time. Unless there's a traffic jam or something weird that happens, right? But in general, I leave the same time. I'm here at the same time. Not today. So that should have been a precursor for how my day was going to go, because it was, just something that happened at home and I had to deal with that before I could leave. It was just the bottom line. So that's kind of set that tone for the day. I'm pretty good at rolling with the punches, as they say. So I think for anybody watching, if you have something that goes in your day, goes awry, instead of getting mad or angry, you got to roll with it. Remember the song "Roll with It"?
Yep.
Well, that's the song for today, I think, for both of us.
But the interesting part is that I used to be that person. I'd get angry if things weren't going my way. And not necessarily my way, but the way I was expected to do things. And when you talk about that, something happened this morning that detained you from leaving and threw you off schedule. This morning, my husband had a doctor appointment that he wanted me to go to. Neither one of us could find the card that had the time on it. The office wasn't going to open until the time he thought the appointment was for. So we got up early. We got to the office when they opened, only to find out his appointment was 2 hours later, which they very nicely said, you need to come back, which then cut into my day of recording.
Right. You had to move things, I'm sure.
And my first reaction, gut reaction, was I'm angry. But I've learned over the last couple of years, let it go. It is what it is.
It's hard though.
Yeah.
It's hard. So like this morning started out with my being, a few minutes late to work. And then the morning wasn't too bad, but then I had a surprise meeting. So that changed an hour of my day. it was a good meeting, one I wanted to do, but it was a surprise.
Yeah.
So we did that. And then I ran out and did a couple other things. And then I couldn't go to the appointment I needed to go to or thought I had. And then I left that. And then just getting on for you, my computer decided to update and it wouldn't allow me to get on until it updated. So instead of 30 minutes, which we thought we would do, now it's going to be 20 minutes approximately. But I think the message to anybody listening is, I mean, stuff happens. And as you go through your day, it's going to be a whole lot easier if you don't get angry. Anger builds up inside. It's not good for your blood pressure. It's not good for your gut. That's when you usually will have an accident or a mistake happen because you're angry. So that's when you're going to drop something, break something, miss your exit if you're driving, right? But,
Well,
you know, I'm not perfect. I still get angry at times, but you're right. It's kind of, you got to let it roll as much as you can.
and like I said, when I was younger, because I believed everybody else's life was perfect, I would get angry. Why isn't mine? But you learn as you get older that, you know what, as we said, life happens. We need to roll with the punches. Some of them, you know, are not fun to deal with. And I ran into that last week. My husband and I went out of town for, it was supposed to be 2 days, ended up being almost 3 full days. And every place we went that was on our schedule and confirmed had challenges. The first appointment we went to, we thought was a quick in and out, and it took 3.5 hours.
Wow.
And so my husband and I just decided last week, we are going to laugh about it, and we're going to expect that everything is going to turn out to be different than what we planned. And I'm glad we did that. And I'm glad that we had each other to lean on during it, because not one thing, not one went as planned. And when I posted it on Facebook, I had somebody say to me, you know, that makes no sense. And I said, well, then be honest with yourself. The next day that something goes wrong, tell me how many times it dominoes. And oftentimes it does.
Right. One thing sets another. Well, my sister just went for a quick trip to Florida and they went to Nassau. They went to the Bahamas on a cruise. So they got there and they were traveling with another couple. They went out the first night and she got food poisoning. So she was stuck in the cabin until the day they left. Then they get to the airport in Orlando. They're early. And what do you think happened? Did you see what happened with 1,000 flights being
Oh,
canceled?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, they were supposed to leave at, I think, 3 in the afternoon, and they left it, they didn't get home till 3 in the morning.
So here she was sick the whole time.
Well, the friend was
Oh, the
sick,
friend. Okay.
but she was better Sunday, the day they went home. They left on a Thursday. So she had to miss her entire time away for the most part, with the exception of the first day. And then they had to sit and wait in the airport. So what were their options? Drive home, which would have taken, by the time they drove home, they would probably get a flight home.
Right.
So they just kind of had to have margaritas and hang out in the airport. That's what they did until they could come home.
And
So you have
sometimes,
to, she had to roll with it.
and like you said, sometimes when you roll with it, you can turn it into a lot of fun. But you have to have that mindset.
Well, haven't we all had times where things seem like they're just going totally off crazy, and it turns out to be the best time you've had? Now, you could still look at it as being negative, but if you roll with it and if you just work it, you can have a great time. It can work out to be better than what you had planned.
And as you said, it's not always easy. And it's a mindset that you have to choose to make. And when we talk about your podcast, Heart Mojo, we've talked about people who are on their life journey and hit those obstacles. And many of the obstacles we've talked about are illnesses like cancer,
Right.
the side effects of cancer, or COVID, or some other medical issue that it just disrupts your life.
Right.
But yet, one of the things that you taught me was that when you got your cancer diagnosis, you chose to do things a certain way
Mhm.
because you wanted to enjoy your life in the best way that you could.
During that time. And
And
also all the things that happened, I could choose to wallow in it and be angry about it because let's face it, I had led a pretty clean life, a healthy life. I worked out, I never smoked, I didn't do drugs, I ate well. And then I got cancer and I was not the poster child for somebody to get cancer. And breast cancer didn't even run in my family. And then here I got this. So we could look and it could be, you look at the dis-ease in your body. So it could have been stress because stress has definitely been something that's been a big piece of my life from the time I was a little girl. But I had to look at that whole picture and say, okay, what if I really only have this window of time? We didn't know that 6 years out I'd still be here, right? And I don't know if 6 years from now I'll still be here. None of us know that.
exactly.
So I have to look at that window and try to dress it up and make it look as pretty as possible and enjoy the view because that is my view. That is where I'm at. So going through my cancer journey, I decided that I was going to take every minute, whether it was a negative thing going on, but try to turn it into a positive or turn it into something that would help somebody else because that helped me get through it when
Well,
things didn't go the way I thought it should.
and I think we can take that message to just about any situation in our life. It doesn't have to be an illness. It can be going to the grocery store and you want a certain item and you get there and that item is not on the shelf. And now that has ruined your whole dinner plan. I remember reacting like that many years ago and realizing that that was such a waste of energy for me. And that while I'm worrying about not getting that one product, I'm not looking at other things that I could have picked up to come home and make dinner. In fact, I remember one occasion on my way home from work, stopping to pick something up. I had promised my husband that's what we were going to have for dinner. They didn't have it. And I fumed the whole way home. And I walked in the house and I started crying because, I was disappointing him. And I'll never forget, he just sat there laughing. And I thought, how dare you? And he goes,
Why are you laughing at me?
he said, come on, we're going to go out to dinner. We're going to have exactly what you want. And I didn't even think of that concept. It was like, this is what I was going to do.
Because you planned it.
I planned it and I didn't have a contingency plan. And I think that's sort of what you created for yourself during your cancer journey. You had a contingency plan. I may not be feeling good, but hey, I know if I go to the comedy club, it's going to force me to laugh. If I laugh, I'm not going to feel as sick as I feel right now.
No, you create endorphins and those things help you get through any pain or any depression or negative things like that. So yeah, it was very helpful. I think one of the things that comes with age, going through adversity, knowing that life is not perfect. Everybody has adversity. I don't care who you are. You could have all the money in the world and there's still something that makes you not happy, right? Something can happen. You may not have a good relationship. You may not have with a spouse or your children or whoever. So I think as you age and you understand that adversity becomes part of life, you learn to roll easier with it. Maybe not for everyone, and I am not perfect. Believe me, you could talk to my kids and they go, you blow up over this or this or this. It's a frustration.
Right.
Because if it were me, it would have been done. Right. So, and they don't do it at the speed that I think it should be done. And because of that, there's consequences. And I think as a parent, I know we're kind of tangenting off, but as a parent, I'm trying to make it easier, make him understand to do things, one of my children, a certain way. And when they don't do it, I get aggravated. but I sort of have to learn to let that go. And it's his consequence as I learn things through consequences
You know,
over
I'm
time.
glad that you brought that up because, as you know, my youngest son has moved out. He's not across the street. He's not down the road. He's 6 hours away. His job is very, very intense. But last week, we drove up to see him because we had a carload of stuff for him. And he wouldn't let his father come in to see his apartment. In fact, he suggested his father go back to the hotel and take a nap. And I could come up and help him organize, which I thought was a little strange. But I walked in and I was like, oh my God, your bedroom has never looked this bad. And it's an efficiency, but even so, there was just so much stuff. And he looked at me and he said, I don't like living this way. And I said, why are you? And when he told me what the situation was, it's like, I can understand. Okay. But I had to sit him down and tell him how to do things so he didn't have to live that way. And I found as I was telling him, I was getting angry. And I stopped myself for the first time. It was like, well, I can't be mad at you. This is your place. Okay. I can give you some suggestions, but it's not like when you lived at home and I could tell you what to do. That's one of the issues that many of us women have, whether it be with our children, our spouses, or whomever is coming into our den. But I think you and I are learning to be less angry, but we do get frustrated. And I want our listeners to know that is normal.
It's okay. I mean, today my own son said to me, why are you're yelling at me about this? You're raising your voice about this. And it's just because I've been asking you to do this for a month and you still haven't done it. But he's like, it's no big deal. I'll get it done tomorrow. So I have to let it go and hopefully he'll do it tomorrow. And if he doesn't, it actually is his consequence. But it's very difficult as a parent. And I don't really feel that's over-parenting. We're trying to guide them. I'm not trying to run his life. I just want to guide him to make better choices so the consequences don't come back and bite him in the butt later. But I mean, I used to listen to my grandparents. If my grandparents told me something, I listened, right? They had to know, they were much older, but that's not our generation today.
Exactly.
So they think they already know everything. So we might as well roll with that and let them. I think that should be the name of this. We should put in roll with it. That's going to be
most likely
our title, because we have to learn to roll with it, whether it's our children's choices, the spouse's choices, a job. I mean, a change in a job, when you're used to having things done a certain way and then you get new management and new management makes a whole big change. And then you're like, oh my God, but it was fine the way it was. You have a choice. You have a choice to be angry and let it eat you up every day. And I have been one of those people that have put myself in that position. And then I had to stop and really center myself and think, okay, I can't let this take away the joy that I have in what I do. So I think if you look for the joy in your situation, that will help you. That will help you roll with it.
And the reality of it is that it's not up to our workplace, our family, our friends to make us happy. We have to find that little niche. And if we walk around all the time saying, I don't like this and I don't like this, how can you be happy? So one of the things that my father taught me a long, long time ago was when I wake up in the morning, find one thing that you like, either like about yourself, like about your house, like about your job, like about what you're going to eat today. He said, I don't care what it is, find one thing. And every time you feel burdened by other people, he said, think about that. Think about that one thing. And I didn't do it most of my life, but in the last 10 years, I've been doing that. And
that's wisdom with age.
Yep. And that's the truth, because in some ways it was like, hey, Dad, that's a great idea, but my brain doesn't go there. That was my big excuse all the time. And he'd say, make your brain go there. And we can.
I do think that we hit a point. There may be times where if we truly are unhappy, we need to own that unhappiness because it's okay.
Sure.
So someone who's listening might say, well, it doesn't matter what you tell me. There is nothing good about it. I'm just doing it because da 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 da, right? Whatever it is. Okay. And if you own that, then you need to figure out a way to change it. You know, that's the challenge. If everything is so negative in your situation, if everything is negative with your job or your spouse or whatever relationship is, own that and then start to move forward. Find a way through it. Make yourself a list, center yourself, say, okay, what do I really want? What do I really want out of this job? What would make me happy? What would make me happy in the relationship? What would make me happy at work? And then what makes me happy with myself? And once you can focus on that, then you can start to go through that challenge and make a change. And then you can roll with it a lot easier, right?
Well, you know, and as we were talking about before we went on air, you can be your own personal coach, your own personal guide, because you know what is upsetting you. You know what you don't like. And there is a way around it. It may not be easy. It may not happen overnight. It may be a long journey, but until you start making those changes in yourself, nothing's going to get any better. And, you know, that was something that I heard the day that I met you when you were talking about the fact that, you know, if I didn't start moving forward, I probably would have fallen further back. I didn't want to go backwards. I wanted to go forward. And as tough as it was, I kept stepping forward. Doesn't mean there aren't days that you're going to be stuck and you can't move forward. And that's okay.
Well, or you fall down. I mean, you
Yep.
might fall down,
Right.
but you have to get back up.
Exactly.
You know, we've talked about falling down, being in pain, going through whatever. Just don't wallow in it. It's okay to own that for a day. It's okay to feel sad or be depressed, but you don't stay there. You've got to move. You got to pick up and move forward.
Well, I know we tried to put a lot in a short podcast today, but what I'd like to encourage our listeners, and especially those of you who follow Melinda on her Facebook Live talks, and I know you haven't had one in a while.
No, work has been a little crazy, and I have allowed it to kind of encompass me. One of the things I'm making changes on for me because I need it mentally, physically. Now, I love what I do, and I love the people that I take care of and help move and work with. They are every one of them gives me a blessing in some way. However, I'm not going to be good for anybody if I don't take care of me. So that's my lesson coming out of this right now, is really taking care of me, because I've gotten through this cancer journey, and most of you know I have other medical issues at this particular point. But if I don't take care of me, I won't be there to do my job. I won't be there to help these people.
Well,
so that's kind of my new thing.
And that's important for all of us. And if we can realize it before it hurts us, that's even more important.
Better.
I just had completed a podcast before we went on air, and the gentleman reminded me that we spoke a number of years ago, and it just didn't connect. And he said, well, I know, Karen, why it's not connecting. He said, because I've been following you. He said, how many podcasts are you doing a week? He said, lady, you gotta stop at some point. He said, you're just doing too much. And when I said, I love doing what I do, he said, love it in smaller increments. Mm-hmm. And, I've been trying to do that, but hearing him say that and him recognizing me and me just sort of like looking at him on the screen, like, really? I interviewed you before? I almost felt ashamed. So in between his show and yours, I went and did some research, and it was over 4 years ago. And so a lot has
Well, you've
changed.
done a lot in 4 years.
Yep, exactly. So, sometimes it just takes somebody else to notice it and, help guide us along the way.
Well, you never know who your teacher is going to be.
Absolutely. So
So-
hopefully when we conclude this in a few seconds or so, you are going to pack up and go home. I would love to hear you say
Planning on that.
that. Because the sun is still shining and there's still a little bit of daylight to enjoy.
Right. Well, I mean, technically I'm done, right? We never do my podcast till my day is technically over. But usually if I stay and do the podcast from here, I end up going back to work for another hour or two. So I promise I'm not going to do that. You can check me on it on the next podcast.
That sounds like a great idea. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being on.
Thanks.